If something doesn't go right, you've got to have a plan. Well, isn't that calling the kettle black right now as far as markets are concerned? Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook, and what we do here on this show is sit down and talk a little bit about what's going on out there and then what's going on with your retirement savings and your plans for retirement. Today, we probably spend a little extra time on the markets. Jay, how are you today? How's it going?
Oh, Randy. That's a tough one.
All right. Are you getting calls from people saying, Jay, am I okay? Or what's going on right now?
Yeah, that is happening. And, well, look, this is the truth, right? This is when my people need me, right? This is when they really need me. When things are going great, when the market's just going up, everything's fine and dandy, they don't need me. Now is when you need to be there for the people that have entrusted their wealth to you.
Right. So this is, we look at this and I'm trying to be, I don't know. Some people will say this is a self-inflicted thing that Donald Trump has done. And I mean, we went way down and then we went way up back in the day and then we went down again. And other people are saying this is a market that is long overdue to correct. So maybe it's a combination of the two. I guess it doesn't make any difference why it happened. You've said many times that in a 20, 25-year retirement, this is going to happen no matter what the cause is at probably 5, 6, 7 times.
That's right.
So let's talk about the people that we talk to, somebody who is right on the edge of retirement and somebody who is in retirement. What is the message to these different groups? Let's start with our people who are getting ready for retirement and watching their money go down and saying, I worked 30 years for that, and now it's just disappearing. What do you say?
Right. Yeah, we had an event last night, and we discussed a few of these different things. And this takes you back to March of 2020 and the 2008 crisis. And I mean, you can go back as far as you like, the dot-com bubble. The first thing I like to approach with people is this, right? While you're going through this, it seems like it's never going to end. It seems like it's just a continual thing. You're never going to recover it. And history tells us that that's not the case, right? Nobody likes this. Nobody likes watching their accounts go down. I don't love watching my clients or my personal accounts go down. But I also know that I felt this way in March of 2020. And by May or so, we'd recovered, right? I felt this way in 2008, 2009. Took a bit longer, but that recovered as well, right? So let's get to the different groups of people and kind of what they should be thinking. Look, if you're approaching retirement, you're not in that bad a spot. You're lucky this didn't happen the month that you retired. You're still working, right? So you have options. You can decide, okay, do you want to retire in 2 months, in 3 months? That would be ideal. If you have to go an extra 6 months, an extra 9 months till we get out of this situation, is it really the end of the world? Right? That's the way I would look at it is use time to your advantage and plan around that, basically.
Let's go to the second group of people. People are kind of right on the edge. Maybe 2025 was the year that you were going to retire, maybe at the end of this year. And now you just saw 15% just evaporate from your retirement accounts. That is kind of scary, isn't it?
That it is. We had a couple almost in that same situation. We did a plan review for them a couple days ago, and we had met with them. When did we meet with them? Mid-March.
Okay.
And the numbers are a bit different now from what they were at mid-March, right? So we had to update everything. And we said, hey, this is not ideal. You were going to retire in July. Let's revisit it July. We don't know what's going to happen between now and then, right? Is this all over by July or is it worse? I don't know, but this is what I'm going to tell you. If we haven't recovered from this, you're in a job that you want to retire from. Do you think you could work 6 more months? Do you think you could work to the end of the year? And maybe we look at a January of 26. And he's like, yeah, if that's the worst case scenario you're telling me, then yeah, I'm okay doing that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then there's a group of people who are in retirement right now. They're 5 years in, and they're depending on that money. That money that just evaporated was the money that they're using to live on. That is even more scary.
It's scarier for different people depending on how they have their investments set up. So, for the last 12 or 18 months or so, I've been trying to talk people back on the level of risk that they're willing to accept.
Okay.
And it's an understandable problem, and it's easy to happen to people, right? Is when everything's going great, you say, yeah, I can handle plenty of risk. I'm okay with that. When the dices are always rolling in your favor, it's easy to say, I'm comfortable putting more money on the table, right? When the markets keep going up and up, you get yourself into a false sense of security that you can stomach the risk that you're exposing yourself to, because you don't really see it. You don't really see that risk. The truth is also the same on what happens when the markets go down like this. I have to basically shepherd people back to say, you're not really as conservative as you think you are. Mm-hmm. It's just things really stink right now, and you want to stop that pain. The people that are weathering this the best in retirement are those that have done planning and allocated their assets in a manner so that we have income coming in that is not dependent on the stock market.
Got it.
That we're able to, and what does that do, right? What does that do when you're able to situate your assets in a way that you have guaranteed income coming in regardless of what happens with the markets? And doesn't mean you don't invest at all, right? I mean, you do. You just don't do it with all of your money. And the way I describe it to people, most of our clients are late 50s, early 60s. And I had a conversation with a lady a few days ago. Can't remember if she's 62 or she's 63. And she came in to talk because she's unsettled, to say the least, right? Like everybody else is. And we put her plan in place a while ago, and we've got some guaranteed income set up for her. She's got her Social Security coming in. We've got some investments in the markets as well. And she's like, hey, I know I'm okay. I know we planned for this, but can we just walk through it again? And completely understandable.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I've tried to do for you. Okay. I said, in 2008, when that happened, you were like in your 40s, right? Mid 40s or something. She's like, yeah, that's right. I said, you didn't like seeing your 401k go down, getting cut in half, basically. She's like, no, it stunk. It was real punch in the gut is what it felt like. I said, yep. But you kept contributing to your 401k. She said, yeah, I did. And I said, and your employer did as well. She was like, yep. And you knew that you were 15 or so years out from needing to use it, right? You had time on your side. She's like, yeah, that's the only thing that kind of kept me sane, really, during that time period. I said, well, that's kind of what I've tried to do for you with your investments here, is I've tried to put you in a place where you've got time back on your side. Because if you don't allocate your investments the right way once you retire, you're losing a very valuable commodity called time, which lets you ride out stock market uncertainty like this. I said, we've got you set up so your Social Security is coming in, your guaranteed income's coming in, that's not dependent on the markets. And yes, your investments are down right now, but this is temporary. And the biggest thing is we don't have to sell anything because we don't need to fund your monthly expenses from that portion of your assets.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I've heard over and over and over again on financial news is your perspective. And I've been given this particular story. If you were in Las Vegas and you were playing blackjack and the first shoe comes out and you made $500 on that shoe, and then they switch the shoe up and the new dealer comes in, and on the next one you lose $50. If somebody came up and tapped you behind your friend comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, how you doing? You probably wouldn't say, I'm down 50. You would say, I'm up 450, right?
That's right.
So the perspective of look how far we've come, and you're up 200, 300, 400% in the last couple of years, but now we've had this setback. I get that mentality, but it's not real soothing to my soul.
Well, it's the typical, it's easier said than done type thing, isn't it? Right. So I completely understand when we have conversations with clients and we say, okay, a couple things, right? We're not needing to sell any of this, any of these losses right now. Okay. We've got your retirement funded from somewhere else. This is the plan. If we look back, unless history completely unwinds and things change, every time the market has gone down like this, it has recovered at some point. And that's what we need to work with. I've got an analogy of this in my book, Wall Street's Game, talking about the reason people struggle so much with the emotional side of investing in the markets is because that asset, that investment is priced like nothing else that you are familiar with in the world. Okay? Randy, if you had to sell your house, what do you think you get for it? Just ballpark it.
I think they're running between $500,000 and $600,000 now.
But what makes you say that?
Because of everybody else around me who sold their house for that amount.
Yeah, that's what you think, right? It's, well, this guy sold his house and he got 600, but it's a little bit bigger than mine. And then this guy down here, he sold his and it's 525, but it needed a little bit of work. So, mine's probably around 550. Your house is worth what somebody will pay for it.
Okay.
Right? Your house is worth, if we take 550, your house is worth 550 if we get it looking nice, we put it on the market, we have a marketing campaign for it, we have a professional representing it, touring people with it, and then eventually, maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's a few months, whatever it is, you'll get an offer for $540,000 and you're like, yeah, that's pretty close, I'll take that. If you walked out to the street and a random person's walking their dog past your house and you're like, hey, just whatever you want to give me for this house, I'll take it. You're getting $5,000 or $10,000. Right. You're not getting anything, right?
Right. Okay.
But that's not how it works, right? That's not what you would never do that. Right. It's the same with, and there is not a ticker sitting above your house saying it's worth 5,000. Now it's worth 400. Now it's worth 30 because there's random offers coming in. But that's the way the stock market works. If you own a share of Apple, the pricing that they give you is the instantaneous pricing that you can sell that asset for at that exact time. You don't have to. Would you run out and sell your house to the first person who walked by and whatever ridiculous offer they made you? No way. And if you sell your investments while they're down like this and you don't wait for the opportune time, then you're gonna get a bad price.
Jay mentioned his book, Wall Street's Game, and you can get a copy of that at no charge. If you go to our website right now, which is retire210.com, that's retire210.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page. There's a place there for you to fill in a little information. We'll send you the copy of that book. And to sit down and make an appointment with Jay to talk about what your concerns are right now about the market, do a little math on your retirement and say, okay, I've taken a hit. Is this really going to set me back for my retirement plans? Am I going to be able to recover from this? Or what do I do next? Because that's what we're going to talk about in our next segment here is what do you do next? So let's have that conversation. Retire210.com is our website. Again, down at the bottom of the page, you can fill in a little information there, and then we'll reach out to you. Or you can reach out to us right now at 210-985-6200. This is one of those times right now where all of us are looking at our accounts and going, oh gosh, what do I do? Well, let's have the what do I do conversation. Again, 210-985-6200. All right. So, Jay, one of the things we talk about is the risk level right now. This might be shooting a flare up in the air saying, oh, I've got too much risk. I've lost too much money. Yeah. So if the market is down 15% and you're down 15%, you feel bad, or if you're down 20%, you feel worse. Yeah. But if you're down 7.5%, you kind of feel smart right now. Okay. They talk about a 60-40 portfolio. I moved my allocation to 50-50. So whatever the market loses, I lose half of that. Right. So as the market went down 15%, I was down 7.5. And I think I can recover at 7.5 a lot quicker than I can recover from 15%. So let's talk about that allocation thing just a little bit here. Yeah. This is the key to trying to solve this problem so that this doesn't happen again 5, 6, 7, 8 times during retirement.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're in such a better interest rate environment for bonds that having that allocation, whether it's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, however you want to have it set up, there's no reason not to have it set up like that now. If we go back 3 or 4 years, the markets were roaring ahead, and part of why they were roaring ahead was because if you had money in bonds, you were making nothing. You were making 0.5%, you were making 1%. And so we'd get these portfolios come in that were 100% allocated to equities, meaning it was 100% allocated to stocks. There was no risk mitigation going on at all. And would say, okay, if we don't have this in bonds because you're getting no return there, I understand that. Let's look at some other alternatives so that we're not 100% allocated in equities. But not having a bond allocation now, it's hard to make an argument for it. And if this doesn't show you what's happened in the last few weeks or so, we need to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is that conversation of in and out of the market. And if you walk in the door and say, I have 15 mutual funds, aren't I allocated? Aren't I diversified? Mm-hmm. No, that's all market money. We got to go in and out of the market. So that's where I'm going to bring us next, because there's an author, his name is Patrick Kelly, and he's written a lot of books about retirement. His first book was called Stress-Free Retirement, and he's a real good storyteller. And we talk about in and out of the market. He brings in an example, a story about horses in and out of the corral, and it's kind of exactly what we're dealing with right now.
Picture a rancher who has some wild horses out there in his field that wants to get them in his corral. And so he goes down and puts some feed in there that he thinks might attract them, and he opens the gate of his corral, and he watches one of the horses walk in, and two walk in, and 3, 4, 5, and he watches 9 of the horses walk in. And yet he has that 10th one that hasn't come in yet, that's still standing out in the field. And so he says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to shut the gate until that 10th horse is in. And so as he's waiting for the 10th one to walk in, the 9th horse that walked in decides to walk back out in the field. I said, now he only has 8. And he goes, doggone it. I wish I would have shut the gate when I had 9 in there, but now I only have 8. There's no way I'm going to shut the door now, because I want at least to get back to where I was. The 8th one walks out, and the 7th one walks out. And he watches most, if not all, of the horses walk back out into the field, and he has none of them that are now part of his ranch.
And there it is, folks.
Yeah.
That is many of us who say, I just got to get to 1 million. I just got to get to 1 million. So you keep that allocation, and it's in the market. You've got 990,000. And then this happens. And now you look at your portfolio and you have $890,000. So, Jay, how do we shut the gate? How do we do it? Because I got to believe some people come to you and say, Jay, stop the bleeding. Stop this right now. How do we do that?
Yeah. So it's not easy, in times like this, because the first reaction is always going to be, I just want this to stop. Mm-hmm. I just want the pain to stop and get me out of the markets, put me into cash. And, look, the way we always lead conversations with clients is, hey, you're the boss, but you work with us because you want a bit of guidance, right? So let us try and give you that guidance. The conversation is not as simple as, well, you just got to write it out. First of all, there should have been a plan in place well before this, because we know this is going to happen. The conversation I've had with clients is, I wish I could promise you that this is never going to happen again in your retirement, but it is. I hope it's a long way away. I hope it's 10 or 15 years from now, but this sort of thing is going to happen. It's part of investing, unfortunately, okay? Getting the plan in place is the most appropriate thing. Okay, stage 2 to that is, what do we do with our investments that are in the markets? I'm going to talk not on individual stocks or individual equities. I'm going to talk about the markets, the S&P, the NASDAQ, the broader scheme of things, okay? Getting out of the markets feels great. Some of the worry's gone. Yes, I've got losses, but now it's not going to keep going down. And if it's a volatile day in the markets, I don't have the problem. That comes to an end, as we've discussed before, and it will turn around eventually. And on our Facebook page, we posted this a few days ago, and it shows people can't time the markets. If someone tells you that they've timed the markets, they've done it once and they've never done it again, and they just got lucky, okay? Mm-hmm. And what this graph showed us was, what happens if you sell your position now, right? Let's just say you sell your positions now and you say, well, I'm going to sell and then I'll get back in when it's all over. Well, you don't know when it's all over, okay? Yeah. Let's just say that you are really good at picking the market. Just nobody is, right? But let's just say you are, okay? If you look back from 1994 to 2024, so was it 30 years, right? The last 30 years. And we take the 30 best days in the market. So what was it? Wednesday the 9th was a big up day. The NASDAQ was up 12%. It was one of the biggest days ever since World War II, all right? If you take those top 30 days of market returns from 94 to 2024, and let's say you're really good at picking all those good days, and you're so good you can pick 80% of them, which nobody does. But let's just say you're that good, okay? So you're only going to miss the 5 best days. Your portfolio will be 37% lower than if you had just stuck with it.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's if you're really, really good. And guess what? If you're listening, I'm not trying to be rude. You're not that good. We're just not.
So as you always say, it's time in the market. It's not timing the market, because if you say, put me in cash, Jake, stop the bleeding, get me out, then the next question is, when do you want to get back in? And how are you going to figure that out?
That's the conundrum. It feels good getting out. You'll never know when to get back in.
Yep. So it's all about sitting down and having that right allocation for you, and according to what you feel comfortable about. There are some people that can lose $100,000 and they're just fine with it. There are others that lose $10,000 and they're walking the hallways at night. That's not where you want to be in your retirement. So this is one of those times right now where Jay says, this is when people call me. This is when people need me. And if you don't have somebody in your life right now, you don't have a financial advisor, you haven't done the math on your retirement, and you see your account going down, imagine yourself right now in retirement using that money. Now, how do you feel? That's not a good feeling at all. So let's stop that before that happens. Let's have a plan for this and have the correct allocation so you don't get hurt so badly that it's going to change your lifestyle in retirement. Nobody wants to look at the market and say to their wife, I'm sorry, we can't go on that trip because the market's down. That's not where you want to be in retirement. Give us a call. Give us a look at our website. Let's sit down, have the conversation, talk about having a plan, put something down on paper for you for the future. That way you've got a roadmap for yourself. Here's our number on our website, retire210.com. Again, retire210.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page. You'll see a place where you can put some information in there. Get a copy of Jay's book. There's also right at the top of the page, you can see, start your planning, schedule a meeting. There's lots of different places to click there. Or you can just give us a call, bypass all that, and let's just get right down to it. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear more, remember to hit the like, follow, or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week here on Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.